We're going to go to Jane Hamsher from Firedog Lake. We talked to her recently about health care, but now we want to talk to her about Van Jones as well. Of course, he resigned over the weekend, and Jane thinks that it's maybe a moment of truth for some of the liberal institutions in this country. Jane, welcome back to the Young Turks.
It's good to be back here, Cenk. It's good to be back. Well, you know what the definition of bipartisanship is?
Republican?
No, it's the excuse that Democrats use to jam all the corporate-friendly stuff into bills that they don't want to take responsibility for.
No, that's 1,000,000% right, and 0% wrong. That's
Thank you. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but
no, but that's exactly what Max Baucus is doing. Jane is referring to the comments that I just gave on Max Baucus. It's absolutely true. What, you're going to sacrifice all this and not get any votes? Why would you do that unless you wanted to do it in the first place? All right, so now let's go over to how money is influencing perhaps some of the progressive or liberal institutions in the country and how they're all tied together. Now, Van Jones was, of course, a sweetheart to all of these guys, all the top liberal and progressive institutions. They all gave him awards. They gave him honors. I couldn't go to a single liberal event with Van Jones being honored in some way. Now that he's resigned, I assume they all have his back, right, Jane?
yeah, no, they're right there. What's the famous picture of George McGovern with his foot over Thomas Eagleton saying, "I'm behind you 1,000%" as he goes over the cliff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. I mean, it pains me to say this because these people are my friends and I know them, but there's something really wrong in Washington, D.C. with the liberal interest groups. And we're seeing it come to the crisis point in health care. And what happened with Van Jones is very illustrative of what's going on.
So how is it illustrative? Let's start that way.
Well, shortly after the election, the White House started organizing liberal groups, the unions, the online groups, the environmental groups, voter registration groups, groups whose names you would know, into let's call them messaging arms. And every morning at 8:45, there's a call hosted by the Center for American Progress, and it tells all these groups, what's going on that day and what they should be saying. Then there's another group called Unity 09 that is sort of a membership group of the larger organizations that is doing, I'm not sure what, but they're supposed to be doing, big projects. They're about as effective as OFA. And then there's a group on Tuesday afternoon run by a lobbyist named Eric Smith that White House Communications Department people go to, called Common Purpose. And it's what they're supposed to do is sort of hand out a list every week of who the targets are and tell these groups what they're supposed to be doing. Now, that would be fine, I suppose, if the groups were allowed to make their own decisions in the situation and do what they want to do without retribution. Suggestions from the White House, all right, I have no problem with that. But that's not what's happening. My own experience with this came when one of these groups asked me to help them with an anti-blue dog campaign over something. And so I did, and I wound up doing the Maddow show over it, but they went to the Common Purpose meeting, and they got the daylights kicked out of them and were told in no uncertain terms that the White House did not want them going after blue dogs. And as many people know, after several groups were going after blue dogs in the healthcare fight, Rahm Emanuel showed up himself at one of these Common Purpose meetings and wigged out and called them effing stupid and worse, and said how dare they screw up health care by advertising against the blue dogs. And the groups have cooperated. They very much value having a quote-unquote seat at the table. They don't want to buck the White House. But what they wind up doing is giving liberal cover to very neoliberal policy decisions that are not progressive and do not reflect the best interest of progressives. And they do a lot of damage by not telling people what's really going on.
Shane, let's name a couple more names. We have Center for American Progress that's leading one of these calls. Common Purpose, who is Common Purpose? And what are some of the other liberal groups that are participating in this?
If you were going to go to the HCAN Board of Directors,
Tell people what a HCAN is.
HCAN is Healthcare for America Now. It's the healthcare organizing group that all of these groups put together. It's a coalition that was funded with like $45 million to fight the healthcare battle. And if they could have possibly done a worse job, I don't know what it is. The White House basically said, you don't go against Democrats. You have to advertise against Republicans because that will make Democrats feel better voting for a public plan. Well, as we well know, Jake, how much control do Republicans have over what goes into a health care bill?
Don't get me started, Jane. All right. So, who else is in it, though?
The groups, who goes? The unions, the AFL, SEIU, AFSCME, Move On, Center for American Progress, Campaign for America's Future, U.S. Action, ACORN, Rock the Vote, Progress Now, you know, anybody who's like a big institutional D.C. group.
So these guys are, you know, on a lot of the battles have been the good guys, right?
They have, and that's why it's so disconcerting, because they've now been sort of wrestled into this silent cabal. And when people like, you know, ordinary folks who just happen to have progressive values and don't follow the news all day, every day, they rely on these groups to sound the alarms when something's going wrong. And when these groups don't, because the White House doesn't want them to, in spite of the fact that things are really wrong, they just feel this vague feeling of anxiety, like they know something's wrong with the banks being bailed out and all these bankers getting huge bonuses on tax dollars. And where are these groups? What are they doing?
Now, but here's the thing, Jane. What's their incentive, right? That's the part that's very, very important. So they want a seat at the table. What if they don't play ball and they criticize some Democrats, some corporatist Democrats? Do they not get invited on the call? Do they lose funding?
I know that several people that both you and I know have lost funding, particularly over their criticism of the administration's position on Afghanistan. And you'll look at what these groups are expected to do. You know, Center for American Progress put out a paper, saying that we should escalate, have more troops in Afghanistan. That's like the liberal think tank. Right. And any of these groups who have gone out and and actually criticized the administration on that front have had their funding cut.
How did they get their funding cut? I'm literally asking, Jane, because I don't know how that world works.
Do you remember Progressive Media?
No.
Okay. Tom Massey he had left Move On, and he was going to start a 527 during the election, regardless of who won, to be doing outside work outside of the campaign that a 527 could do. And so when Obama got the nomination, he had his campaign call up all the big donors and say, hey, I don't want anybody giving money to these people because I don't want to give up control of the message. You may remember it because eventually they regretted that. Steve Hildebrand, who was the campaign finance manager, said, wow, that was the worst mistake we made. Mm-hmm. But they very much did that and showed that they could do that. And the word goes out, and big donors hear that the administration doesn't want them giving money to, X organization, or they don't. One group of big funders, somebody who's the head of one of the big liberal institutions just knew because one of her best friends works in the White House that the White House was unhappy that somebody had been, criticizing them. So she offered it up of her own accord. Let's cut the funding for this journalist.
All right, so that's how the world works. Shocking. It turns out you follow the money and you find out what people's incentives are. I'm flabbergasted by that. So the other thing that I'm amazed by is $45 million that HCAN had to fight for our side. Jane, do you have any idea what they spent it on? Because I haven't seen a shred of it. What the hell did they do with that money?
They spent it on pass-throughs to all their consultant buddies. I don't know. I can't tell you that. I only know that the director of HCAN on August 13th gave a quote to Politico saying, we had no way of predicting, we had no idea that the Republicans were going to show up in force at these tea parties in August.
No, because when I say I haven't seen it, this is what I mean, right? We're not involved in the funding world at all because we're a for-profit show, so I don't know how that works on the left-hand side of the political spectrum, okay? And that's part of the reason we're talking to Jane. What I mean is I can't see it. Like, we're all the right-wing lunatics show up to these town hall events. and they convince the media that that's a large percent of the population when it's a tiny, tiny percentage of the population that's actually showing up. HCAN has $45 million to fight these guys. I hardly saw anybody at the town hall events that was from them. I didn't see them acting up. I didn't see any commercials. I don't know what the hell they spent it on. If it wasn't people, it wasn't commercials. What did they do to fight? What did they do to get the public option passed? Well, obviously the public option isn't going to pass, so I guess they didn't do a damn thing, did they?
Well, we started our whip count campaign with I think we'd spent about $20,000, and we'd gotten, I don't know, 18 or 20 members of Congress to pledge to vote against any bill that doesn't have a public option. It took us about 2 months. It was really, really hard to do, but we work like dogs. So HCAN on August 3rd, in anticipation of the August recess, sent out a memo to all their field people saying, yeah, what we really want to do is get members of Congress to pledge to vote no on any bill that doesn't have a public option. And I asked the executive director, where are your results here? Has this been one of your goals for the past year? Because you've never gotten anybody to say this. And I asked that question, at the end of the month. How many did you get? None? I know you got none because I think I would have heard about it. Nothing. This is what you get for $45 million. Nothing.
And look, final question on this count, and we're talking to Jane Hamsher, who's fought like a fire dog lake to get people actually on the record, and she has a Democrat saying that they will not vote for a bill without a public option. So if the White House asked the funders to put these guys on a leash, and they put them on a leash, and these guys didn't do anything, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, isn't it the White House's fault? Or the question is, did the White House actually want to lose the fight on the public option?
Oh, I think they dealt. We've had this conversation before. I think that they dealt it away, months ago. I think that they decided that it was an acceptable casualty to keep, donor money out of the pockets of, lobbyist money from the healthcare industry out of the pockets of Republicans. So, it's just been, since then, it's been a matter of who's going to break the news to Grandma.
Jane, one last thing. Let's bring it back to Van Jones. So, how does this relate to Van Jones?
Well, as we started out, I got a little upset on Sunday because none of these groups were standing up for Van Jones. I was shocked. I was open-mouthed when the White House let him go in the first place because he didn't do anything, right? But the second thing is that he was the pride and joy of all these groups who were suddenly completely silent. John Podesta, the head of the Center for American Progress, went on Fox News, and they asked him about Van Jones. He didn't say anything. I mean, instead of saying, hey, the guy was a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, and I'm really proud of him, and this was a really wrong thing to do, he didn't say a word.
Of course. By the way, the only thing I'm shocked by is that you were shocked that they let Van Jones go. I predicted on September 1st that they were going to let him go in 2 weeks.
You know what, Cenk? You cleaned me out.
Wow, I won on that one. Congratulations to me.
Congratulations to you.
Yeah. Boy, I feel great. All right, Jane Hamsher from FireDogLake.com writes terrific pieces following through on what's actually happening behind the scenes. We appreciate you coming on the Young Turks again.
Thanks so much, Cenk.